Hello, everyone, and welcome to a pandemic success story. We are here to learn the story about the Park Springs Life Plan community in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and have they got a great story to tell? I'm Denise Hyde, community builder with the Eden Alternative.
And I'm Nadia Williams. I'm the Health Center Administrator at Pebblebrook at Park Springs.
There we go. So, welcome to the show. So,
Thank you.
Nadia, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about what the Park Springs community was like before the pandemic happened. But what was so unique about your community and how you created community there?
Definitely, I would say is the model of care. There is a structure here where the members have their own autonomy. We have a very close knit relationship with the members. We encourage the staff from all levels to develop those relationships with the members so that we are able to get to know them, to care for them better. So it was a family like environment here. Certainly different from um, what I guess it's traditionally known as for a nursing home setting, or a skilled nursing setting. But yeah, we had a smaller ratio for the care partners. We had homemakers, which is a unique feature as well. We really were able to delve into the lives of the members before they got to us so that we can care for them a lot better.
So, how did you do that? Because, like a life plan community, I mean, people move in and they're there for the duration of the rest of their life. So, how do you get to know them regardless of where they're living? How does that work?
So typically for us, once they get to us in skilled, that we encourage them to have pictures. We have different activities. We actually spend time, eat lunches with, from anywhere from me to the care partners. We spend time with the members. We eat with them. We watch movies with them. We do arts and crafts with them. That's the way you get to know anyone. So really, how you would get to know someone outside of this environment is how we get to know them here. We bond over music, we bond over movies, we bond over arts and crafts. It's just it was a breath of fresh air, basically, to see something like this. It's just how I think it should be. A lot of the members appreciate it, and they become our families.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Community is really great when you can make it happen and make it work. So congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So here we are. It's March of 2020. The pandemic has hit. And somehow there's a crazy idea that you all come up with that maybe as employees we should move in and stay here. So how did that idea come about? And I mean, not everybody must have agreed with it. So how did you get enough people to do that or get them engaged enough to do that?
So we were monitoring how fast COVID was spreading. We knew that it was coming from the West Coast, and it was, rapidly moving throughout the United States. Another thing that we were very vigilant about was the demographic of people that it was affecting the most, and we learnt that our demographic, the elders, were affected the most. So again, our model of care. Um, has it to where we already have relationships with them. So they're not just members, they're members of our families, So with the same instinct that would kick in that you would want to protect your loved ones was the same type of instinct that kicked in for us. So while we didn't have everyone who works here during the pandemic, we had 75 employees who volunteered without knowing anything at all, myself included, to stay here at Park Springs or Pebblebrook to care for the members so we could protect them from this virus that at that time we knew nothing about.
Wow. Wow. So so it was so explain a little bit more about why it was important. I get that you're a family and that you really care for each other, but was there other reasons as to why it was important for people to want to move in and be with the elders 24/7?
Definitely. So, despite what goes on, the members still need to be cared for. So, it was something that we couldn't just let fear or anything get in the way of the fact that we have an obligation and a duty as well, to care for the members that we serve. So, coupled with the fact that we have these relationships, it wasn't really, especially in my mind, an option for us not to be able to care for them as well, the way they're accustomed to us caring for them.
Yeah. Did you find that that there were, like, how did people balance out their lives? Because they must have also been concerned about their own families at home. So how did they move in and still be in a relationship with their families? And I know you've got kind of a unique story for you that happened during that time as well.
I do. So it was definitely something that it was a decision that I had to, especially for me. I'll talk from me. I included my family with in this decision, so they were with me every step of the way. Um, Once we were in the community, we created somewhat of a cocoon. So it was a safe place for us, and that we knew that, after a certain time, that we were essentially kind of safe from the virus at that point. So there was that security for a lot of the employees that we were safe where we were. And yes, I mean, whilst we were in there, we had to create a life. We had to create a new normal, is what everyone says. So we had, activities, different things that we would do to make each other, to give each other a break, because it was a balance. While we had the obligation to the members, we also had to make sure that we were okay. For me, I missed out on a lot of things that happened. Actually, coming up a year now, May 1st was my sister's wedding. So that was very tough for me, very, very tough. I remember having to find dresses, have my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, um, bring me different options of dresses and shoes and everything, just because I wanted to, while I was still in the community, I felt this huge obligation to my sister as well. I wanted to make sure that I looked my best. I wanted to make sure that I did the best I could for her, because, growing up, that was always the deal. You're my maid of honor. I'm her maid of honor. I'm there for you. So it was difficult. I mean, I cried like a baby. Uh, in fact, not long ago, the memory popped up on my phone, and I still teared up because I remember how I felt at that time. Um, but again, I felt like I fulfilled my duty to both at the time, because it was such a daunting period in everyone's lives. But there was an element of joy that I was able to bring to the members. So when I dressed up, I was able to strut through the community, get stamps of approval from the members, and it brought smiles to their faces. And it kind of made me feel like I was going to be okay. Um, I was doing the right thing. So it was difficult, definitely, for everyone.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did other teammates that were staying there have equally challenging decisions to make and balance to keep?
Definitely. I know throughout the stay, we had people have graduations, we had funerals, we had different occasions that took place that we had to kind of adapt and use technology that was around for us at the time to kind of make it work for us. So, not just me. I know that there were a few other people who had to make those type of adjustments in the lock-in.
Wow. Wow. So you said you kind of made sure that everybody was doing okay, that everybody could find purpose, even though they were now cocooned together with the people that live there. Can you give me some examples of kind of what you saw in terms of how people took care of each other, as well as taking care of the people that normally live there?
Yeah. So for I'll use the members first as an example. So one thing that is very popular here is going to the salon, getting your hair done, getting your hair fixed up and curled and everything. So we didn't stop that. While we didn't have the salon stylist there, we all took on the responsibility. At one point, I did members' hairs just to make them feel, in the midst of chaos, that there was some type of normalcy going on, so that they could just enjoy that. So we did stuff like that. And that was something that we also did for the employees. So employees did each other's hair. We had karaoke nights. We had game nights, we had movie nights. There were times also, which was nice, where we just got to get to know each other. So there were people in different departments sitting, just finding out information about each other that had we not been in this situation, I doubt we would have had the opportunity, or at least not so soon, to get to know each other on that level. And it was a good relief to, because there was an element of panic as well, because we all didn't know anything about this virus. So it kind of calmed everyone out, and it was really refreshing.
Yeah, I can almost sense the idea that yes, we need to move in here and cohort with the residents because there's an advantage to all of us to do that, and yet also worry about it being out in the community and my family's still exposed.
Hmm.
And here I am. That had to be challenging and
Yeah,
probably stressful for people.
definitely. It was definitely stressful. I mean, I just now thinking about it, I was any information that I learned about the virus from being in here, I shared with my family. I was almost frantic about it. Make sure you do this. Make sure you don't do this. And that was when ordering food and groceries online became super popular. And I remember one thing that I did prior to me leaving um, for here and doing the lock-in is I bought supplies galore for my family because I did not want them to go out at all. So I had that sense of security as well, that they had enough to last for however, at least, I mean, I know they probably still have supplies. It was that much. So they were taken care of in that aspect. But it was the same thing for the staff here as well. We were fortunate because we have technology, we have phones, we have Zoom, we have FaceTime. So we were able to connect with our loved ones who were not part of the lock-in, but it was definitely something that was challenging.
Wow. Wow. So, what particular roles did people normally have in the organization that decided to move in?
So for the leadership team, we had Donna, who's the COO. We had Cynthia, who's the director of HR. Myself, the administrator of the skilled nursing, the DON. We had the social services director as well. Then we had care partners, we had maintenance, and we had nurses.
Wow. Good diversity
Hmm.
in who stuck around. Very cool. Very cool. So, now tell everybody how long this went on, how long you cohorted together.
This went on for 75 days. So we are about 2.5 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So 2.5 months, these people moved away from their families in the midst of a pandemic to cohort with the residents. That's awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
But I would imagine at some point it was like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to go? So, what or who kept you inspired to keep going when it must have felt like it was just dragging and going on forever? And maybe I'm just assuming that. I don't know. But
So um, I'm actually sitting in my room, my bedroom at the time. This half of it was my office, the other half was my bedroom. And I remember I'd set it up really nicely and I would made myself extremely comfortable. And it was at one point, I just felt that this was just going to be the norm. This was going to be basically it. But through that situation, there were three people that I think or that really helped me. So of course, my family, my husband and my parents and my sister obviously were there for me tremendously. Um, Through the pandemic, they encouraged me and made me feel really good about what I was doing. But the members as well, and there was one particular member that I really, really, really connected with. Um, when you say they're a member of your family, to say he's a member of my family would be an understatement. I care for him so, so, so much. Um, no more than if he was actually my grandfather or part of my family myself. And he kept me going. I knew for him at the time it was difficult. So we did everything from physical therapy together to lunches to just talking, movies. He told me a lot. He taught me a lot. So he was another one that really really, really helped me through the lock-in. There were days where I would get up and be excited to go down to his room and he would be waiting for me. So it was like a mutual thing.
Wow. Wow. So very cool. So yeah, you brought up an interesting point, which is the residents that lived there were also separated from their families. So how did you all keep them inspired to keep going day after day, knowing that they were in a disconnected situation as well?
So we made sure that they were not too terribly affected by what was going on. There were some things that we couldn't control, but we kept them still very connected with their families. So we had constant Zoom calls, and we had birthday parties, and we had anniversaries, and just different themed events. We still had resident council. They had dances, they had tea times. They were very social. It was just amazing to see. I mean, so many birthdays took place, in our time there, and to see the milestones and, families from all over the world. At one point we had someone have a birthday party with people from Paris, and we were part of that. We were all together. We were all celebrating the life of this member. And we had many occasions like that. We had to come up with innovative ways. I mean, we painted, we did arts and crafts. I have actually here something that I will never get rid of, because this is something that I made during the lock-in with a member. It's not perfect, but it's perfect to me.
Yeah.
So we did, and I did this with one of the members. She has her matching one in her room. And that's how we engaged with them. I got to know a lot about this particular member, who is still with us. She loves art. She loves this type of thing. So we made sure through getting to know them, we were able to pick up on things that they liked, and we did it with them.
Nice. Nice. So it sounds like the relationships just got deeper and deeper and deeper. Mm-hmm. And I just find that fascinating. Was that surprising to you at all?
No, not really surprising. I was pleasantly surprised at how deep it got. How close we got. I knew that, there was no way that we were going to be able to spend so much time together and not form relationships. But these relationships are still going strong today. This member here that I created that with, I still go to her and we talk. The member that I told you about that kept me going, I still go to him and we talk, and we so it's a year later, and it's just something that it's almost like I needed it. I've created these lasting bonds, even with the staff. They got to see me in a light that probably would have taken them a little bit longer to see, and maybe they wouldn't have seen it at all, because we wouldn't have been in a situation where we're so close so frequently that they just wouldn't have been able to see that side of me. And I know them. I can tell when something is wrong. I can tell when something is upsetting them, both, and I pull them aside. Hey, is everything okay? Yes, I'm fine. No, seriously. Well, actually, and it just actually happened to me right before this interview. And I said, are you sure? And then she told me, these things, had I not gone through this process with these people and seen their characters and their hearts, it would have been difficult to kind of relate to them like that.
Wow. So I'm going to back up just a second and say, I got the impression when I asked you that very first question about what makes Park Springs so unique and such a great community, you talked about the relationships, and yet they got even deeper. And I find that just fascinating, because we do think we know people, and yet there's so much more to learn. So what was the takeaways from other people about the relationships and how they developed, the others that stayed?
So they got to see, when we're in this setting, we're at work, so we have a duty, we have responsibilities, but we are very, that is what brings us here. But we got to see the kindness of people. We got to see the fact that, the people that you just don't know are rooting for you or supporting you. They got to see it. They got to see another type of leadership. There was no title in the lock-in. If a homemaker needed to be there, one of us was a homemaker. If we needed to paint a room, one of us was maintenance. If we needed to help out with a member, one of us was around to help out. If we needed to get food, one of us. So there was no, that's not my job, this is your job. So they got to see that we are all one. We all have the same agenda, and that they have someone that they can truly count on. And this was the perfect time to show that, everyone says that you can count on me, you can ask me for anything if you need support. Those are common things that are said. But to see it in action is completely different. And that's what they got to see. And there's a sense of pride, from my end that goes into that, because I was able to show that I truly mean what I say when I'm saying that I care. That, I will, it starts off with action. And I don't want to be the type of leader who sits there and says, you should do this. And my presence as well, I felt there, being that I'll be there with you, showed a lot. So they were able to see that we truly care, and we are all one in Park Springs.
Wow. Wow. So even when you're really great, you got even better.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And I love the tearing down of the silos and no more, that's not my job. We're all in this. We saw the greater purpose together. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So, okay, now seriously, you had 75 people together for 75 days with how many residents at that time?
I think we had about 36 at the time.
Okay. So it's
So,
more
but
than
we were inside long-term care. We also had our short-term rehab outside as well. So,
wow. Wow. All right. So you said you had an office bedroom now combo. But what was life really like for everybody? Because I know what it was like for those who didn't do what you did, but I want to hear from your perspective. I mean, how did life flow? How did you sleep and eat? And I mean, how'd you do all the things you did? What was it like?
so we switched to kind of 12-hour shifts. So there was a day shift and there was a night shift, and I was part of the day crew. So for 12 hours during that day, we did anything and everything that needed to be done. So for the care partners and the nurses, they actually opted to stay in some of the empty rooms that we had on the household. And it worked out very well, because if the members needed anything, they were there readily. And how they split it up was within that 12-hour shift as well. So it worked out to about maybe 3 or 4 people sharing a room, but 2 of them were working day and they would just switch, and 2 of them were working at night, but they were always there. So neither next door, opposite, or adjacent to another member. So if anything happened, we will all be able to be hands on. The DON, myself, and social services stayed in the administrative wing, and they converted their offices into bedrooms as well. So for us, within our 12-hour period, towards the latter part of that, we would, find time to eat together. We would find time to, in the evenings. It was so funny. We would watch different shows together, and that's another way we got to know each other as well. It was interesting to see the type of shows people like, documentaries people like to watch. So we did that within the administrative wing, and my conference room turned into our living room essentially. And we would have care partners come and watch movies with us as well, or just hang out, talk to us. And then we also had community hall. So Donna and Cynthia at one point were in community hall, and they had tents. But that area was also used for the karaoke nights that we had. So we had karaoke battles between the different levels of care. So skilled and memory care was one area. AL and IL. So we would battle against each other for karaoke and, sing our hearts out. There was a area that we converted into a gym area where we would exercise and work out, and we had members join. There would be days where I'm working out and I'll turn around and see a member joining me, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is perfect. This is so we made it work. I mean, it became so normal, like I said, that you know, it was an adjustment for me to leave. Essentially, when I left, I had to adjust to go back to my normal life. So it just became the norm.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I know in other communities there was elders need to be restricted to their rooms. Everybody's masked and wearing full PPE and the face masks and everything. So how did you handle all of that, where you needed to keep people distanced and face masked and everything?
So in the beginning, we did that. We definitely kept to the social distancing. We all wore our masks. The members were encouraged to stay in their rooms. And then towards maybe 2 to 3 weeks of doing that, we realized that we were now safe. So we had created this cocoon. No one was coming in, no one was going out, and that's when we kind of laxed a bit. And we within because we still kind of kept to some of the regulations or recommendations at the time, but we were able to be a lot more lax to create that environment for the members where they didn't feel, odd or strange about what was going on.
Cool. So were the residents eating in their rooms alone, or how did that work? What was mealtime like for them?
Um, in the first 2 weeks, so they ate in their rooms, but I wouldn't say they were alone because care partners would come in, they would have the nurses. So we were all kind of scattered at that point because it was just so daunting. We would kind of take shifts as to who would go to see who at the time, and so no one would feel lonely, because that is actually a very, regardless of a pandemic, we never want the members to feel lonely. We are here for them, so that is not our model of care. So we were definitely there for them. It was a lot better, obviously, when we were able to kind of come back out, but we definitely never wanted anyone to feel like they were isolated or
Nice.
alone.
So then after the 2 to 3 weeks and you felt safer, did the mealtime experience change?
Yes, it changed because I mean we still had to set up the dining room to allow for social distancing, and we expanded, so we used different areas as well so that there could be a type of gathering there. Even if it was just two people to a table, 6 feet apart, they were still able to have those conversations. And it was great. I mean, just walking by, I remember hearing members introduce themselves to each other and ask, "Hey, how long have you been here?" Or "I'm from here, I'm from," and it truly, and that was just after 2 weeks. So it was definitely something that we had to adapt to, but we didn't let the members feel um, the change or the isolation at all.
Wow. 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 All right. So the 75 days are up. And so what was the trigger that said, okay, we need to like have people go back home? What was that? And then what was that whole transition to like what is life like today? Because like the virus is still here.
So we had gotten to a point where we had, as a team, organized and thought about strategically how we would be, what it would look like to open in the middle of a pandemic still, but we're using all the information that we were able to learn. We had gotten access to testing. We had a lot of enough PPE as well to sustain. We did a lot of education. With those who were inside the bubble and those who were outside. And then we made that decision. I think it's time for us to open up. And we did do that. And we followed our regulations and recommendations to a T. Fortunately, not long after we opened up, talks of a vaccine started, swirling around. And it became a thing where we then had to talk about us getting vaccinated. And I'm very, very, very proud of the team. I mean, those who locked in with us and those who didn't, about 75% of the staff personnel got vaccinated. And that was in January. I believe we had our first vaccination then. So that clinic went very successfully. I encouraged everyone to speak. I mean, at the beginning, there was some apprehension about it. It was a new vaccine. It came out relatively quickly. So my strategy was to find out how they felt about it. I didn't want to impose how I felt about it. I wanted to hear from them. And we talked it through. Those who had about it. I wanted to hear it so that I could give them facts. I didn't want to give them opinions. And we did that. And I took it myself, and we all kind of just talked through it to get to a place where everyone was comfortable, or enough people were comfortable. And even since then, we've had people opt to take it privately, and more people have taken it. So we went through that phase, and then we went through the phase of visitation. Um, where we were slowly but surely introducing visitation back into the community. And of course, we had strict regulations at that time as well. We had the outdoor visits, we had tent visits, we had different innovative ways to make sure that while we were the buffer at the time between the members and their families, at some point they needed that connection back. And I'm ecstatic to say now we're at the point where they are coming in and they are visiting with their loved ones, and it makes such a difference, I can tell you. Um, we've seen so many people bounce back just by hearing the voices of their daughters and their sons and their loved ones. It just makes such a difference, such a difference. And so you don't realize that so much time has gone by until they come in and say, well, you know, mom or dad, this is your new granddaughter or your grandson, and they show pictures, and they named this person after you, and this person got married. And then it kind of makes, you know, what I went through makes sense. It happened to everyone, you know. So it truly makes a difference now that we're in this spot, and it's just come full circle, and it's just made the sacrifices just worth it.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And it sounds like you got buried in the midst of a pandemic too.
I did. I did. I did.
Congratulations on pulling that off. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was definitely for me. This pandemic for me showed, you know, for our relationship, it definitely strengthened it. You see who the person you're dating is when you are cannot do anything. I mean, he stepped in 100%, helped, stepped in, took my place. I was in here and I couldn't do much, and so he did everything for me. And again, just like I created that connection with the members here, he created that connection with my family, and my dad calls him his son. It's just so both me and my sister, yes, we pulled off getting married in a pandemic.
Wow. That'll be a story to tell the
Yeah.
grandkids. That is awesome. That is awesome. So, what is it about this experience that you never want to forget?
I will never, ever, ever forget the connections that I made. I will never forget the group of people that I lived with, from the care partners to the nurses to the members. This experience, I couldn't forget it if I tried. It was just so fulfilling. It made me realize that this is my purpose. This is not just something that I'm doing just to do it. I genuinely care for this population. I genuinely want to make a difference. And that's what I did. I've never wanted to be the type of person who says, I will do anything and just not do it. This opportunity came and I, you know, took it, and I don't regret it at all. There's nothing that I would, if I had to do it again, I would. Um, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about vulnerability. I learned a lot about friendship. Um, I learned what it takes to be there for someone.
Wow. Wow. And I'm guessing that you probably have been reflecting with a lot of the other people that both stayed and didn't stay, and
Mhm.
what this whole experience has been like for them. What have they said has been some of the takeaways for them?
So for those of them who stayed, again, it was a situation where they felt that connection, they felt the closeness, and they felt safe, which was important to me. Um, to feel safe in the midst of a pandemic that we know nothing about speaks volumes. And those who were not in the lock-in, they were equally as important. They were the ones who brought us the things we needed, you know, anywhere from food to nail polish, anything that we needed at the time to give us comfort. And then those who couldn't make it for just reason, they took comfort in the fact that they knew that we were able to take care of everything so that when we opened up again, they could come right back in and assume their positions. So everyone played a part. There were people who were not in the lock in who would call me. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do? That meant a lot. You know, while it's the same pandemic for them as well, there's the same uncertainty, but you're still concerned about how we are doing inside. That speaks volumes to a lot of their characters as well.
Yeah.
The members on rehab were well taken care of. You know, they were able to step up in ways that, you know, I could have never imagined. So we all played a part, whether you were inside the lock-in or outside.
Very cool. So I think that answers Chris's question, but I'm going to read it just in case it inspires something else for you. She said, what was the bubble experience like for those who chose not to be in the bubble? And did those people feel like they missed out or that they made the right choice?
So I don't think it's a situation where they missed out. They still played a huge role in what we were doing inside. Um, it just wasn't feasible for everyone, and that's fine. It's okay that not everyone was able to do that, but the support that they gave us from where they were meant a lot as well. So yeah, they everyone helped. It was a group effort.
Wow. So again, that speaks to the uniqueness of Park Springs and how you have created community. For me, it speaks to how you've created community together, because it would have been easy to say, well, you chose not to, and actually have this great divide, because we
Right.
love to just compartmentalize people. And this great divide could have been created, but it doesn't sound like it was. It sounded like they were doing other things to help us. And when it was ready, they moved back in and everything went well.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, that is all the questions that I had. I don't see much coming else. I see a comment here. I love how creative and caring your team is. Thanks for sharing this powerful success story. Yay.
Yeah.
And there's a couple links in there to some Park Springs videos, which are very good, by the way. I loved all of them that I watched. So any closing comments, anything else you wanted to say, Nadia, that I didn't ask about?
Um, all I would say is, you know, I am truly grateful for this experience. Um, it was unexpected. It wasn't something that any of us had planned, you know, to do or to be part of. But I will tell you, I'm glad I was. It made me it opened my eyes to what we do and what our potential can be in this industry. And I will not trade it for the world. I'm just so grateful that I was able to do it with such a great team of people, with an amazing set of members. So I'm just grateful. And I thank everyone who shared that journey with me.
Very cool. Very cool. So we have another comment. It says, amazing foresight to see what was going on in the state and then make the decision to lock in and make it work. Like you were watching it happen in Washington state and move across the country. I think we were all doing that, but very good that you were paying attention and doing that. And it sounds like some great leadership in place as well. And you did say that you learned a lot about leadership. Anything you want to share that you learned about leadership?
Definitely. So the leadership and the vulnerability to me went hand in hand. Um, I was able to show who I am, but still be a leader. I was able to be more hands-on with the team as opposed to being someone in the background. I was able we walked together. We did everything together. It wasn't There was no division. And leadership does not mean that there has to be a division. So I learned that. I learned that it's okay for them to know who I am. It's okay for them to know my expectations. It's okay um, for them to know when I'm happy, when I'm disappointed. All of those things are okay, because when they know that about the person that is leading them, they themselves will step up as well, and they can bring themselves to the position and to the job, no matter what it is. So I was so happy to learn that aspect of it, because there was a different perception prior to this experience.
So has that carried over since you like have gone opened up again and gone back home, and now you just come in on a daily basis? Has anything changed for you in terms of being a leader?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a continuation. So after knowing me on that level, you can't unknow me. Um, so I definitely continue that. Um, I'm hands on with them. When there's an issue, we solve it. I give them my recommendations, but I want to hear from them as well. What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Let's work on this together. Because sometimes you hear amazing, fascinating things from your team that under normal circumstances you feel that you can just tell it to say this and it would work, and that's not necessarily the case. But it's okay to find out what people are thinking to come up with something that works for everyone. So that is just continued. This more inclusive now.
I love it. I love it. So you were great, and now you're even greater, and you're going to get even greater.
Even better, yeah.
I love it. It sounds like you have forever changed the course in a different direction, that in your life as well as the lives of others. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, that is all that we have. I don't see any other comments. I want to thank you very much, Nadia, for your time, for your story. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It was amazing.
Gosh.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to the audience that is viewing it now and in the future. And please continue to leave comments, because we'll be checking them out and maybe responding if you've got other questions. So please enjoy the show, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.